More than we know sometimes. How are y'all doing? I don't have everybody's name.
So this is Lolita, Miranda, and Barry.
Okay, start over. I'm gonna write them down so I don't forget.
Oh, you coming to the mic?
Whoever talking on the mic, I want to know name.
Yep, Miranda.
Miranda.
You can just say what you do a little bit.
Y'all can also use this mic as well.
Oh, Doctor. Yeah, this is for you.
Yeah.
So we got Miranda.
Lolita.
Miranda. Yeah.
Oh, Miranda. Look.
We're just gonna talk a little bit
Lolita.
about the towards the end.
Okay.
And then Dr. Shabazz.
Barry.
Barrett. All right, nice. Barrett. That's your first name? Oh. So I was going to ask, are you related to the Tory Barrett? You know, the Pastor Barrett?
That's the first name, but his last name.
Yeah, that's his last name. Okay, fade this out, Zoe. Let's keep it rocking.
We just gonna talk about the network towards the end. You ain't gotta be ashamed. 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Miranda, Lolita, Dr. Shabazz, and Barrett.
Barrett.
And Wanakee.
3, 2. Where's the action, Jackson?
I'll tell you what's going on. So what's going on is, of course, it's always our aim to send you back better than you came. And we have some great guests on the show. This young lady who I've had the pleasure to know over the years, and I met her several years ago. Shout out to my good friend, Jasmine Meeks and the Meeks family. I met Wanakee through her. So today on the Brunch Bunch, we're joined by Wanakee Trask. Did I say that last name?
You did.
Southside native. I won't hold that against her. Army National Guard member and founder of Elevate Greatness. She's here to talk about building stronger communities, her journey from educator to youth advocate, and what's coming up at her big July the 18th event. Let's give a warm Brunch Bunch welcome to Wanakee.
I'm happy you almost said July 11th. That's my birthday.
You know what? The Holy Ghost had me to say the 11th. Okay.
Shout out to Jasmine Meeks.
Yes.
She did. She is the reason for this season.
Yes. You know, I met you at a game night, so I got to see the fun side of you, but I also got to learn all the great things that you're doing from our conversations after the game night and social media, and you're doing some amazing things. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to start Elevate Greatness?
Yeah, so I used to be a teacher. Well, I did a lot of things with kids. I used to coach. I used to do teen outreach programs, but then I started teaching. And that was probably my last stop in the school when I decided I needed to pivot a bit. In 2018, the biggest thing for me was I didn't feel like we were preparing our kids for the future for real. We were only pushing one thing, and that was college, and they were pushing back. They said they didn't want to go. And we didn't give them options. And when we didn't give them options, I felt like we were dropping the ball because they didn't go. And then you would just see them in our communities working regular jobs and trying to figure out what was next. And so I had a conversation with my principal. I told him I think we should do some things different, and he did not agree. And so that was my last year.
You quit.
And so long story short, that was my last year there. I think the beautiful thing is, though, I ended up starting an organization. I had a business partner at the time in October of 2020. And the beautiful thing is exactly 4 years after we organized, they also became my very first paid client. So that was amazing. But the point of
won't he do it? Won't he do it?
Every time, exactly 4 years to the day. I'm real good for going back to an old email. I'm like, look at that. I couldn't even have made that. Couldn't have made it up. But the point initially with Elevate Greatness was really to be a bridge and to connect young people to other opportunities outside of just college. That was our point. But what happened was we started bringing in professionals, and our kids started getting intern opportunities and jobs. But then they started fumbling those opportunities. So what we realized was we were not really preparing them for success because we didn't really give them the tools to hold success.
Yeah.
And so we had to take a few steps back. And that's how we got into social emotional learning. So that holistic piece of education.
Well, we need it. And in times in which we are living right now, as Reverend Clay Evans used to say, these are crucial times. You don't know what politicians are going to do. Our kids are just out here. They don't have parents to really parent them. And it does take a village. And so what you're doing in that, for many years, I served mentoring and being an advocate. And I would say, I'm with these kids 4 hours. And I'm teaching them all I can teach them. And then the other 20 hours, they were family members and they're not reinforcing anything that I taught them. So it was an uphill battle. But Wanakee, wow. we're going to continue to and talk about the great things you're doing, but you brought some great guests with you. You're a coach, you're a teacher, you're a mentor, but I added a title. You're a collaborator. And that's one of the things that we need to know how to do more in our community. So you know how to work with people. You got some great guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to start down here. Ladies first, ladies first. We're going to start down here. Was about to say your name, but I'm going to let you tell your name and what you do.
Hello, everyone. Lolita Kennedy. I'm Executive Director of the Rosemore Community Association, founder and artist at Fields Creative Studios, and also on the board with the network.
All right, next up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miranda Stanberry Wallace, and I have the pleasure of holding space on the south side of Chicago.
I ain't going to hold it against you.
South side. Right across the street from Percy Julian High School, we run an entrepreneurship and talk about collaboration. This is definitely a space for collaboration, so come by and check us out.
And beautiful lady right here, young lady right here.
Well, my name is Dr. Constance Shabazz, and I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Salam Community Wellness Center. And we're located in the Woodlawn community, and we got started in 2020, just at the beginning of COVID-19. And our health that so many people in our community, particularly on the south side, were inadvertently affected or unfortunately affected by the pandemic, by the COVID-19 pandemic, not just because of the virulence of the virus, but the fact that we are greatest risk because we had so many unaddressed issues like the chronic illnesses like diabetes and heart disease and hypertension and respiratory disease. So we wanted to start something that was new and different, not just your conventional type of healthcare system, but one that was holistic, that incorporated our African roots even in it. So we provide things like the basic primary care, but we also provide things like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, massage therapy, acupuncture. We do a workforce readiness program, teaching people drone photography and gardening. We have we've acquired 2 vacant lots on our block where we grow fresh organic produce and give it out to the community free.
Doctor, let me tell you, before we go to our last, I'm going to tell you how God works, right? No, nothing happens by happenstance. Everything is by divine order. And as you were speaking, I just felt God's presence, right? Because I'm gonna tell the radio, I was a little late, so I'm running in here. And all I knew was my team said Wanaki has a lot of guests with her, and I said that's great. You know, we're gonna have a good time. And I was assuming, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, we have another guest later in the hour. I don't know how she's gonna know when to let me know she's here, and you are here. But this is gonna be a great conversation. Because when we talk about the youth and the future, it's health, it's wellness, it's well-being, it's mindset. And what I believe, what our youth are ingesting, digesting, is what's causing a lot of the issues in the community. And so this is going to be a powerful partnership and connection. I already see it. And I was in the meeting talking about Salam yesterday. And I'll tell you this, you know what they told me? This is why we have to advocate for each other and know each other. They said, you want to bring a small wellness center to the west side like Salam, why don't you partner with one of the major hospitals? And I said, because God didn't tell me to partner with a major hospital. I said, and the major hospital is not going to speak to the issues, the major issues in our community. And we need more than just medicine pushed. We need all of the things that you were talking about. So this conversation is going to unfold beautifully. And so I just want to say that. So our next guest, my brother, I need that shirt when you're done with the interview.
My nickname is Kente Keithley. My name is Barry Keithley, and I'm the co-founder of Paint the City, which is a local nonprofit artist group that connects local artists to global opportunities. And our mission is to heal disease through art. And much like Dr. Shabazz, we started back in 2020 during the pandemic and George Floyd protests and riots. And we use art as our form of expression and our form of protest. And we turned that and made it major. So now we go into schools. We're in about 20 schools right now, teaching young people how how to be artists and how to regulate their social emotional learning through art. And then also a little caveat, 'cause I'm from the west side, I got the most murals on the west side.
You better talk about it. You better talk about it. You better.
Myself and my
We don't
organization,
hold it against
we
them.
got the
We don't hold it against
yeah,
them.
Okay.
I'm from the south side, but my organization, in between my organization and myself, we have the most murals on the west side.
Well, we talk west side, south side. What's the best side? What's the best side? You know what I said. I'm not going to say the west side is the best side.
But
I'm going to just say the west side is the blessed side.
Oh.
So,
that might be worse.
but okay. So, Wanaki, you are a master organizer collaborator. This is going to be a great conversation because now I'm looking at all my set of interview questions and I'm going to fuse them together. Because when we're talking about what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
changing, I believe if you change the brain, you change the behavior. And so
Mm-hmm.
education is key. So we have to continuously educate our communities and our youth. I want to say, what sets Elevate Greatness apart from other youth-focused organizations?
Our whole focus is the whole child,
Mm,
right? And so a lot of the times you'll find organizations they'll choose certain things and that'll become their niche, right? So it could be SEL, it could be post-secondary, it could be those things. With Elevate Greatness is really all of those things. And truly it's whatever the school needs and whatever the kids need at the time. People always ask me like, what do you do? And I always say for these kids, I do whatever it takes.
mm,
Right? I'm not a real big fan of studio things, but I know I have to do this
yeah,
to get the word out. So I'm gonna do whatever it takes. If I go into a school and it's behavior, then I'm gonna focus on behavior.
yep,
Right? If I go into a school and I have kids who are amazing, they don't get in trouble, but they want other opportunities, then I'm gonna focus on other opportunities for those schools. And so I really come in and provide a more personalized curriculum for schools that I work with. We are a CPS vendor, so we do work with all of the schools with CPS as well.
well, that's amazing. You said, and I think you said you don't like to do the studio, but we got to do it, right?
We got to do it. Somebody got to do
It's an
it.
old African proverb, and I was trying to look it up to make sure I don't mess it up. But a lion doesn't roar to tell itself it's a lion.
Mm,
It roars to show everybody else it's a lion. And
mm,
so we have to roar, right? If you're
mm-hmm.
just doing good work and nobody knows you're doing no good work, how do they?
Talking
Yes,
about
how
it.
do they support? See, I hear
How
you,
do,
God. I hear you, God. How do you support the work?
how do you
And
support the
so,
work?
Dr. Shabazz, I'm reading this, and you are the founder
Yes.
of the Salam Wellness
Yes.
Center.
Yes.
And let me give you a formal introduction. Today on the Brunch Bunch, joining this great cast of youth advocates and community advocates and activists is none other than Dr. Constance Shabazz, a physician, healthcare advocate, and CEO of Salam Community Wellness Center. With over 45 years in the field, Dr. Shabazz is leading a bold new approach to culturally responsive, holistic care on the south side.
You are so outnumbered today.
I
I
am
love
so.
it.
I'm like, oh Lord.
We should have brought him a Southside hoodie. Next time we'll come with gifts.
No,
So-
we don't bar West Side folks.
Okay.
Open arms
But
to everybody.
shout out to Frank Kimbrough, who he is the roaring lion. Trust me, because whatever he's doing, he gonna make sure you know he's doing it. But I always tell people one thing about Frank is when he calls me, I know it's not nothing to play around with because he's not gonna associate himself with just anything or anybody. So I'm very interested in what you're doing at the Salon Wellness Center. So I want to kind of get a little background on that before we turn this into a whole panel discussion because we're about to have a good
Oh, we
time
about
up
to
here.
go in. I'm excited.
So can you share the inspiration behind founding Salam Community Wellness?
God.
Mm.
Mm.
I was telling sisters here earlier that I was actually in Texas. I kind of ran away from Chicago, and at the beginning of COVID-19, I was sitting there listening about the stories of what was happening in Chicago. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but certain communities, particularly South Shore, had both the highest number
Yeah.
of infections and deaths in the entire state of Illinois,
I didn't
and
know
then
that.
the second highest number among nursing home residents. And it just so happened when I looked up who that or what that nursing home was, it happened to be a nursing home where my mother and my cousin had lived
Oh, wow.
15 years before. So it struck home that, my God, I could have been one of those people, knocking on a window trying to see my
Yep.
loved one.
Yeah.
But the more important issue was why was it that COVID affected us so bad? In fact, to this whole thing about, and it all comes down to systemic racism. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I call myself a healthcare social justice advocate,
Yep.
because that is a critical part. If you don't have your health, forget about everything else, about wealth.
Yep.
So I wanted to look at what are the things that were missing in the community, and what we found were things like lack of access to what we call culturally appropriate or responsive healthcare. In other words, one where you go to a practitioner and they're looking at you instead of a screen.
Yep.
They're talking about what is not only your medical issues or the symptoms you have, but what is going on in your household, what
Yep.
is going on in your community. The fact that we have food deserts, or some people call it food apartheid, which means that's intentional, that they're getting people out of our community. And how do we correct those things? How do we correct the violence? Just yesterday, I spoke to a group of young men who are part of Chicago CRID, which is a well-known violence
Yep.
prevention thing. And I said, this is so wonderful that I'm getting a chance. And we're really educating these young brothers because they're brilliant.
Yep.
But yet, when you don't have the resources, if you got sand, you know what you're going to get out of sand. If you got dirt and you got, the nutrients there, you know what you're going to get
Yep.
out of there. The seed is still there.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So what we wanted to do is create that environment, that healthy environment that not only feeds the physical health, the mental health, and provide an entry point to their health and wellness that is not wedded in a pharmaceutical prescription or some test, but wedded in a culturally appropriate manner in which we deal with people. I want us to say this. We believe that primary care, which when you hear the term primary care, do you have a primary care physician?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that primary care is not
Our
you just
diet.
showing up, somebody doing your blood pressure and height and weight. The first thing that they're doing is talking to you
Yep.
and listening to you.
Listening.
That's the most important thing. Listening really is the most important thing. The talk comes after you find out what's going on. So that is our approach, and so we're trying to address all of those points, and also their entry points. When I say, okay, when we say mental health, that's still such a stigma in our community. It's, I ain't crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I just act up, but I ain't crazy. And so if we attract someone through another door. In other words, we do something like deep breathing, meditation, or you come and you say, hey, I need a massage. But usually the reason why you need a massage is because there's something behind that.
Yep.
Some stress that you're trying
Yes.
to get rid of. And if we, first of all, set up an environment where you feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
and we provide you something that makes you feel better, then aren't you most likely to open up about other issues that are going on?
Yep.
Hey, by the way, I don't have adequate housing. I just lost my job. DCFS getting ready to
Yep.
take my kids away. So we have, with God's grace, created a safe space.
I love it.
Okay, and whatever door they come in, seeking whatever they need, if we don't provide it directly, and that's why I love the fact have other partners that we work with to be able, and we're very careful about who those partners are.
That's right.
Because they are a reflection of what of our mission, and they have to meet that litmus test to make sure that we're getting that what people see and feel and experience is a true holistic with a W and not a H.
Listen. Dr. Shabazz, you dropping some nuggets. So this is for the panel here now. Because you said it and I was going right here. Mental health.
Yes.
And I know that's a major focus at Salon. And so I want to talk about, let's dive into some of the mental health issues that we're having. Because we're living in a time, and I was telling someone the other day, when I was younger, and I hate to say it like this, but I just say it how it comes, right? When I was younger, you heard somebody killed themselves, you always thought it was somebody that didn't look like us.
Yes.
Because it wasn't us killing ourselves. Now, fast forward, our kids, our black men, our black women, suicide is at an all-time high. And you said it. We say we ain't crazy, in the Christian faith, we go to church and we say we're gonna let the Lord fight our battles. And ain't nothing wrong with little Johnny. I'm gonna take him to the altar. But after you get off the altar, take him to therapy.
Thank you.
Because faith without works is dead, And so let's talk. What do you all believe? And we can all, because you're working with youth, and especially with young people right now, which is so alarming to me. What has changed, or what's going on that has caused this spike in these mental health challenges and this high rate of suicide? And Barrett?
I think that one of the main contributing factors is, you know, that instant gratification. You know, there's so much information. It's overstimulating to these young people. And you know, we grew up, we was outside, we was playing, we got dirty. You know, TV was off at a certain time. Now you have these handheld devices that are on 24/7, and it's constant information. It's an overload. It was great to have so much information, to have freedom to it, and to, you know, fact check individuals who try to claim things that aren't true. That's good, but then also, you know, too much of anything is not good for you.
Yeah.
And I think with our children, they're getting constant overload of stimulation. You know, they even showed that cocoa melon was like a overstimulating, addicting thing for children. It's like, it's crazy to think like, man, okay, my 1-year-old's addicted to something already.
Right.
So you got that, and then, you know, now you're growing up to a teenager, and like, you know, your brain isn't fully developed, or it's underdeveloped because of all the overstimulation. Is, you know, just like a muscle, it needs time to rest. So if you're not resting, you're constantly thinking, you're overthinking, then you know, I think sometimes these young people, they want to cut off.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that leads to like their life. That's why I feel like art is such important to be involved in the young people's life. Although, you know, a lot of schools, they're taking them out. That's like the first thing that goes in the school systems is the art, because, you know, people always think you can't make no money from it, which is not true, because I've been doing it for 10 years straight and I make money from it. So, you know.
Well, let me borrow $5. That's the first thing someone you can't be successful because as soon as you say I'm making a few dollars, they're like, well, can I borrow 10?
Hey, look, I got you. As long as you return the favor.
Got you. That's it. So, Lolita, you're here because you're doing some amazing work in the community, young people. What can we do? How can we start to shift? Because he said it, and I got 2 toddlers at home. Pray for me. 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. That'll be 2 soon. So listen.
4, 3, and 7, 4, and a 3-month-old.
Well, I'm definitely praying for you. But, you know, it's a little easy sometimes to let them just watch Miss Rachel, you know. Or now, Miss Rachel, to me, I've been like, well, she be teaching on something. My kid be coming up saying some stuff, and I'm like, wow. They're like, you teaching your kids? I'm like, it's Miss Rachel. But I do notice as soon as she said it, hi, their faces light up like, you know, some the adrenaline, the addiction, something around. I'm like, wait a minute, I might have to cut Miss Rachel off. What are things you think we can do to help combat these issues and decrease? Well, not decrease. How can we encourage young people or families at all to just want to be more proactive about their mental health?
Well, working in a community association, I think that first tapping into each other, knowing just certain things about each other as far as community and even in families, and kind of building on that and encouraging, and also as far as my space in the community and our organization, we want to be able to create spaces that we can allow the community to come to and separate themselves from the youth, from the TV and from the phones, and also teaching them how community works, how we work together, and starting that mentality at a young age. We'll see a different thing happening in another generation if we work from that aspect. And so as a community organization, and also as an artist, pouring into that is just into the arts period, allowing your brain to work in a different way versus just looking at a screen, but picking up a paintbrush, or you know, picking up an instrument, or just learning something new, but having community support that has spaces to be able to allow this to happen, but also the people that are willing to put in the work to do these type of things. It's just going to allow them to detach themselves from. And technology is not bad, because some of the things that we even are trying to teach is like with the AI and all that, but we need to do it in a more responsible way.
Yes.
And teaching them at a very young age.
Yes.
Starting it as an automatic thing. Community is automatic in a household. But like I said, just us being able to facilitate that is how we help as organizations and community.
Gotcha. So Miranda.
Yes.
What say ye?
When it comes to so when it comes to youth development, I think it's a holistic approach, right? And I'm talking about health.
Yeah.
This part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's just so comfortable. We just talking about
it. It is. It's my family. But when it comes to developing youth, I do believe that it's a holistic approach. And when I say that, because my background is in education and it's in business, technology, and entrepreneurship, I take the lens of how do we help youth understand what their current ecosystem is. A lot of times when even the schools, right, invite you to Grandparents' Day, to Parents' Day, come report card pickup for parents, and you give these titles to people that are supposed to be important in your life, assuming that that's what it is, you know, at their home, and not making space for them to understand that. Also, Miss Susie, who's my neighbor, takes care of me.
Yeah,
and also,
that is
you know,
true.
my mom's friend is like a second mom to me, and then also, you know, the teacher that, you know, taught me 3 years ago is still in my life. So helping them identify what the ecosystem is that they currently operate in, and why that's so important is because then you're able to leverage your network.
Yeah.
We say something to each other to pump each other up. You want to know what it is?
What is it?
Empty the clip.
Empty the
Ah,
In the
wait a
middle
minute.
of us. In the middle of us.
Wait a minute. Southside. Wait a minute.
We say that we're going to take back that term and make it what it should be. And it should be activate your network. That's what we're saying. And when you activate your network, like Dr. Shabazz sitting next to me, just drop some gems on me saying like what it means to also walk in your ministry, right? So what does it mean to walk in your ministry? And say, and own it. And say like, yeah, I'm that girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? I study this, I do this, I speak on this. And so, yes, I am an expert in this. And so when I say expert, just willing to learn. Yeah, that's where the actual goal is when you're still in the space and willing to learn. So young people teach me things all the time. Oh yeah. And the space that we have on the south side of Chicago, Culture Canvas Cafe, it's located right across from Percy Julian High School. We're cultivating ecosystems. So we're saying local entrepreneurs come showcase at the market. We're saying things like, okay, let's team up together and showcase you on our podcast. Now, what does that mean to go from a podcast to a class? And now we're learning together. What does that mean for that class to be pumped with resources? And now you're meeting people and growing your network. And so helping to set the stage and the space for everybody to just thrive. This is not work.
Listen, I love it. And we have to, I learned a long time ago in business, don't walk in the room looking at people as competition. Right. Look at them as potential collaborators. Social capital. Because if we can collaborate, we can go. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. There you go. And so, Dr. Shabazz, mental health is a major focus at Salon. What's unique about your holistic mental health program?
Well, like I was saying earlier, we meet people where they are. Yeah. So if somebody comes to us, you know, looking for some physical health issue, which, you know, when I was in medical school back when the dinosaurs were roaming, one of the things that we were taught was that, you know, don't just focus in on what's happening on the physical. Yeah. Okay. Because for many people in this society, so much is driven by what you say is going on a physical level, which really may be a manifestation of what's going on the mental and the spiritual level. Yep. Yes. And so being attuned to that all the time, always, you know, not just asking, well, you know, where does it hurt? You know, where does it hurt here, physically? Where is it hurting here? What's going on? You know, how are things going on in your home? I had a woman that I saw years ago who came to me, regular patient, had a standard high blood pressure, diabetes, and the like. But she came in a couple of times, just looking so sad. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, and so when I found out she was a typical Black woman who was taking care of the kids and the grandkids and kept going. And I said, okay, so what's going on? Oh, yeah, they're just dumping on her and this, that, and the other. So that was when we were writing prescriptions in paper. So I wrote on there, okay, dear family, get off of your butt and help your okay. And the next time that woman came back, well, it wasn't that sharp yet, because I don't want anybody to come get me for saying something like that. But the next time she came in, her face was all lit up. And I said, what happened? She said, I showed them that prescription. And she said they started picking up and doing things,
Yep.
you know, that they were dumping on me. So just that little question.
One, yep.
Okay, because the high blood pressure may be because of the
Yep.
stress, the diabetes and poor eating habits, the stress, you know. So we have to recognize that all of these things are inextricably linked to each other, and we're not going to solve one problem without addressing the other. That does not mean that we always have the resources, but that's why we're talking about collaboration. You might have something, you know, somebody comes in and say, well, look, I just lost my job, I'm about to get evicted. You know, you said, well, maybe she's got a job training program to pay a stipend or something. You know what I'm saying? It's about leveraging what's in our community. Because, you know, after that so-called election, nobody was coming. It didn't matter who got in the White House. They weren't coming. They weren't showing up with a happy bus saying, we here to solve
That's
all
right.
That's it's still going to be up to us to be able to solve it.
Well, I say it here on the show all the time. You know, I don't care who in the White House. I don't care who in the State House. And I don't care sometimes who in City Hall. As long as God is still on the throne. Because that's what my trust, faith, and belief is in. And he gives us the ability to build wealth. He gives us the ability to have the right mind. Sometimes you got to pray for it, though. You got to. I pray every morning. Thank you, God, for my right mind. Continue to lead and guide me to do and say the things that you want me to do and say. And when we tap into that, then we can feel a little bit better. But you said something. And one of the issues, and I tell people, sometimes you got people out here fighting for stuff they don't know nothing about. They just want to fight. And I get it. Fight on. But it's not until you've experienced something. The inadequacies in healthcare and the disparities in healthcare. And unfortunately, I experienced that with my family. So now I can advocate for better healthcare. And I understand the difference between going to a doctor that look like me, understand me, than a doctor that don't, and giving me all the bad advice. And sometimes I do it now, just individually. I'll say, Waniki, how are you doing? And she said, good. I said, no, but how are you really doing? Because the surface level, we got to start understanding. We got to go beyond just the surface. Because, of course, everybody going to say, as my son will say, I'm good. But are you really good? And so, Waniki, you brought the cast together, and we added Dr. Shabazz. Look, I do look. Elevate Greatness. I know we're going to connect with Salam Wellness.
When I saw when y'all posted it on social media, I started reading your bio. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is divine.
Of course you did research.
Always going to do my research.
So, Waniki, why is it important to you? Because collaboration seems key to your mission. Why is it so important to bring together nonprofit schools and businesses?
Well, I think for all of the reasons that we all just said, nobody's coming to save us. And I think a lot of the times we put a lot of effort and energy into the fact that nobody's coming to save us. And we like to get together and just talk about those barriers. And we never get past that. We just talk about all the bad things. Anybody who personally knows me knows that I can't stand it. I hate to do it. And I just can't do it. If we're going to be in space with each other, and like Lolita and Miranda said, if we're going to identify all of our gifts, why are we not putting them together to leverage them for each other, for ourselves? Nobody's going to know how to really treat our kids but us.
Right? Yeah.
I go into school sometimes and I'll have teachers who don't really understand the culture getting ready to put a kid out because he might have said something that is culturally relevant to, us, but they don't get it. So now he about to get in trouble. That don't make sense. Yeah. And so if we don't step in, if we don't figure it out, if we don't put our egos to the side, then who's gonna do it for us?
Now, I'm gonna quote this, and I know Dr. Shabazz is gonna be able to fact check me. Because I quote this all the time. Okay. And I always say, I don't know if it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but one of them said, only a fool allows his enemy to educate his children.
Yes. Actually, that was probably part of the impetus of the development of one of the largest independent schools in the U.S. by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's wife, Sister Claire Muhammad. Okay. She was approached. They came to her home to say, hey, your children are not in the school. And she said, over my dead body. Yeah. And from there, helped to establish one of the largest independent school systems
Wow.
We got to do that.
We have to.
We have to.
We
I homeschool my children.
You know what? We got to see more of that. And I've been looking into that. And we think homeschool means just in the home, but I see groups getting together and they got a little space and they're doing their own schooling. We got to create our own ecosystem. Our kids can only be what they see. And when we have, I hate to call them the enemies, educating our children, of course, they're not going to learn what they should be learning. And we're living in a time where the government does not want to acknowledge any of its past crimes against humanity and atrocities. And one thing, and I've never been there because, I ain't no alcoholic, but I know in AA, the first thing they want you to do is admit that you have a problem. And you cannot ask God to help you if you don't admit you have a problem. So the country is not admitting the problem that they have. And that's why it won't be solved, right? But we can't wait on them to come and save us. We got to save ourselves. So one of the things about Chicago is we always have some great events going on. And if you don't know about them, you can't come. Right. So before we get out of here, Dr. Shabazz, you have the 4th annual Integrative Health and Wellness Expo coming up. Can you tell us when that is? How can people get tickets or register?
This is an event that obviously, 4th year we've done this. This is a way of us showcasing some of the different modalities and services that we provide at the health center. But also we bring in individuals who are in the health and wellness sphere, anywhere from business and education and you name it. We bring in a bunch of vendors again to show our community what the resources are that are there. A lot of people don't know the kinds of resources that they have, and oftentimes we're paying tax dollars, to support these organizations. So like last year, we had former Commissioner of Health, Dr. Terry Mason. He did a wonderful presentation on nutrition. He's a staunch vegetarian. We also had a music therapist who is also a neuroscientist at Northwestern University, who shows how music can impact the brain and our behavior. And she's also a member of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. We had Zumba, we had massage therapy, and our premier showing or event was our organic garden. It's called the Paradise Garden. It is two lots that we have organic food, and we had people go in and pick their own organic food and had healthy food demos.
So how can they come this year? What day is it? When is it?
It is. I think it is. I think we have it the week after the Bud Billiken Day Parade. So I apologize.
No problem. Listen, you're gonna get it to us, Frank. Frank, I'm putting you on notice. I want Dr. Shabazz back, so you ain't got to come next week. Send Dr. Shabazz.
Well, I just want to say, if you want to contact us, you can call 312, text us rather. Text us at 312-530-8505. 312-530-8505.
Monica, we're going to have you back. You got an event coming up July 18th. Quickly, in 20 seconds, tell us.
This is really easy. So for this event, it's my launch event, but the objective is to get organizations and funders in the space. We need people who are ready to come together to do the work, and we need people who are going to support the work.
How can they come?
And so what they can do is they can email me, Wanakee, WANAKEE, at elevategreatnessshy.org.
Wanakee at elevategreatnessshy.org. Listen. Time flies when you're having a good time, and I hate it. But Miranda, Lolita, Dr. Shabazz, Barnett, Barrett, oh Lord Jesus,
you was on the roll.
I was on the roll, and you better be up, Barrett, and of course Wanakee. Thank you for joining us on the Brunch Bunch. We want to have you all back separately, but we encourage you to keep Love 24 alive. Tell someone that you don't know that you love them. We love you. We continue to keep love alive. We'll see you Monday right here on the Brunch Bunch.
We did it.
You made it.
I was like, oh God. And that time, dude, good combo. And it was just moving. I looked up, I'm like, oh shit, we ain't got 2 minutes left. Listen. Oh, thank you, Letitia.
Can you tell them what you have going on the west side? He has the Dream Center.
Listen, I am turn that down some, Zoe. But I did I'm gonna shout it out on Facebook because I've been getting blown up this morning. And everybody's like, they're talking about you on GCI. And I said, what the heck they talking about? I'm about to cuss. I'm like, why they talking about? But shout out to Tony Russell, who is the music director for Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
And Kendrick Lamar's concert is tonight. And he was being interviewed on the WGCI morning show. And he took time out of his interview to talk about me and the work that I'm doing on the West Side.
Yeah.
And so when you just said it, it reminded me that I needed to make sure I shouted him out. And for those of you that don't know, don't y'all tell them there's only 246 of y'all watching. But I own the Dream Center Co-working and Business Support Services, where we help entrepreneurs start and or grow their business. Incubator space, small offices. We're building Soul City Studios, wellness lounge, art gallery, podcast studio, and a food truck garage for food truck vendors to be able to pull in, rent the yard, have their space for the day. And what is a coming attraction that most people don't know, but I'll share with you all. What's so special about Chicago Avenue is we're creating what's called the Soul City Corridor, an African American business district that has not been done since Tulsa. And people keep calling me, well, we got it in Atlanta. No, you don't. Because you may have 3 black businesses on the block, but you don't own the land. And that's why it's called landlord. You're a lord of the land. And so we own the land, and we're building. And as of Sunday, somebody say Sunday. I'm a fake preacher. Last year I was blessed by the state. They gave me a $1.5 million grant to do development. And shout out to my state rep, Camille Lilly, who I kept saying, I'm a tear may fall because I'm just excited. I kept saying, I got to spend this 1.5 so that I can go back and ask for more. Right. But when God is directing your path, you think you got to do one thing, and he's saying, just keep trusting me. Yeah. And so my state rep texted me a few weeks ago, and of course, because I'm moving fast, as you know, I didn't really read the text. I read enough to know what she wanted, but I didn't read it. It just said, hey, I need you to send me A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, oh, she needs this info for my $1.5 million from last year. And then another state rep called me and said, hey, I want to help you with some money. And I'm like, well, God, thank you. And I said, well, State Rep Lilly just asked me for the same info 2 days ago. I can copy and paste it and send it to you. And I went back and read the message fully. And it said, because you allow God to lead you, my brother, I'm writing you in for another $1.5 million. So I said, God, I just thank you.